Welcome to the third review of the evening. Up this time, this game called Zhed. Pronunciation may not be final. Like, it's one of those made-up words that we're not exactly sure is pronounced. How is?
It might be like Russian or something. There are languages that use that.
Right. But for right now, we'll just stick with Zhed. Or whatever. The name is less important than what it is, or rather, like the full title on some versions is Zhed Puzzle Game, which kind of gives away it's a puzzle game. But what kind of puzzle game? Well, it's a simple puzzle game. As I say, you tap a square and select a direction, upwards, downwards, to the left, and to the right. See how the square reacts when they intersect with each other, and build a path to fill the goal square. When you're finished, the next level will show up. You can undo moves and restart levels as much as you want. And yeah, there's the core conceit there. It's not, and it doesn't have any time pressures or any sort of S ranks. It when they say pure puzzle, it's the goal here is to figure out how the puzzle works. That being said, as far as the levels that are available, they're very exacting. There is precisely one way to figure out these puzzles. There's not really room for experimentation, so it's a matter of figuring how the blocks flow into one another to get to the square that is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the version that we played, or at least is the primary one, is the Nintendo Switch version. That's the one that was gifted. We also have the PC version. But there is also a mobile version of this. Because if you're watching the footage, you can see that this is a game that's very amiable to touch devices. Anyway, over to you, Galix. What are your thoughts on Zhed?
Well, the first thing that struck me is that you could very easily make this an actual physical tile puzzle game by having a board and stackable tiles, like with edges that like lock into each other, and then each initial puzzle is setting up a goal spot, and then piles of instead of having numbered tiles, just have that number of tiles in a stack. And the idea is that you take the tiles off a stack and extend them out, putting each tile on a blank spot. But the trick and the way it works as a puzzle is that you skip over any tile that already has any spot that already has a tile in it. So you basically the goal is to get enough tiles in the way to actually that puzzle that Petty Fan just did, number 10, does in fact have two ways of doing it, but they're really simple, and that's still in the tutorial basically. But yeah, it's very exacting about the order you do things, because you have to get you have to make a way to make it extend as far as it needs to extend, basically, because they never actually give you the spaces, except for like on the very first one, to make it all the way to the thing. And if you don't do it in the right order, then you will have a open space that doesn't give you as much reach as you need. As a core concept, it's actually, I think, a really solid style of puzzle, and it's interesting to... Oh, and the one thing you couldn't do is that this game does give hints that you, I believe, accumulate for completing stages or something.
Right.
And it'll give you a hint if you don't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
Petty Finn, you want to start with the...
I already figured it out.
Hmm?
I already figured it out.
Yeah, what were you saying, Adam?
Yeah. Or conversely, if you want to really blitz through this game, you can look up solutions on YouTube.
Well,
Like,
yeah, you can do that with any game.
I know, I'm just saying, like, I, I looked up some solutions and they're like 7 seconds long.
Yeah,
It's like,
no. If once you know what you're doing,
yeah.
it's possible to solve these things very quickly. Which is why I think it's a solid, like, puzzle concept.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as just a structural thing. It's not. There's nothing really particularly grabbing about it aside from the concept of the puzzle. Like, it doesn't have fancy effects or anything like that.
Now,
If you need high contrast visuals to see a thing, it might not be the best because this visual style is pretty consistent.
mm-hmm. Pretty typical, simple puzzle minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's not a pyrotechnical showcase or anything, but it gets the job done.
Mm-hmm. There are, I believe, 100 puzzles, although I barely completed the first 20 of them, honestly, just because I wasn't looking up solutions, and I could tell that there's not really a whole lot that's going to, change.
Right. So, as far as puzzles go, according to the bullet points, right now it's 100 puzzles in 5 packs, and the packs part is actually important because the mobile release, though a bit more about that in pricing.
Oh, is the mobile one like free for the first one, and then the other ones are DLC or something?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's reasonable. That's more reasonable for this kind of puzzle than it is for a game with a narrative, I think. Because in this, it's like you could have like, oh, here's like 20 fucking crossword puzzles or Sudokus or something for free, and also we have more that you can actually buy if you like the ones we have.
Right.
I think that the simplicity of this, I think, is literally on the level of crossword or Sudoku.
I could see it. Anyway, but I am noting that ground control is saying that more has come to. There are more puzzles to come in the future, and specifically platform exclusive puzzles and game modes.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, also a bit vague. Like I'm not sure. They don't detail what kind of modes or puzzles, say the Nintendo Switch version or the PC version, is getting. Just that there is more on the way. Like, but there's no timeline either.
Mm-hmm.
So that.
So there might be even more content in the future.
Yeah. Like.
Of what it is, we have no idea. But I think as solid, if you're looking for a new style of really simple concept puzzle game that requires some interesting logic and thinking to execute, I think this is actually really solid.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not like super allergic to like maroon and orange.
Yeah. As far as music goes, I'm trying to remember. It's one of those. Was there music? Like
barely.
Yeah, it's like it's as minimalistic as the rest of the game, and clearly not too memorable. You've encountered a few games like this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's just like low key piano type.
Yeah, like not bad, but if there was a
like organ type,
if there was a soundtrack option, I wouldn't go for it. Anyway, so in terms of pricing, let's see. We've got like I said, we've got some pretty typical pricing. PC version clocks in at $399. The Nintendo Switch version is clocking in at $325 USD. I'm not sure if that's a sale price, but the version I really wanted to highlight, I got the Android version up here. In-app products are $0.99 to $2.99 per item. I'm not exactly sure if that means that the different packs are priced differently, but that's pretty typical mobile pricing as well. That being said, I don't think there's a platform you can really go wrong in terms of acquiring this game. It's like the PC version works well enough with a mouse, but I don't see a keyboard being a touch screen being a problem either. A question on the Nintendo Switch version.
Mhm.
Did it use the Switch touchscreen?
Let me check. Yes, it is compatible with touch controls.
Good. Because this is definitely a game where you want the touch controls over the fucking Joy-Cons. Though on that note, how did it play with the Joy-Cons?
Fine. It's left stick to move around the grid, it's fairly fluid. You have diagonal movement and stuff.
Hmm.
And then you just highlight a square with button and then press in the direction you want it to expand with A, usually.
Okay. All right. And
nothing actually awkward about the controls on this one, thankfully.
Yeah, and overall, I think we're in agreement that this is a, pretty solid, if unexciting, puzzle game.
Mm-hmm.
Purchasing. All right then. So that'll about do it for Zhed here. Be sure to tune in after the break as Twilight will lead us in the review of Will Glow the Wisp.
That sure is a frickin' name.